thing. Are lucky to be a part of the ride.
Yeah, I know. I always wonder, like, is there ever? There's no like ceiling, right? Like, we can just continue to gain more and more viewership. I would imagine, like, there's so many people out there, I guess, that we don't watch football that we don't realize. So
Are there?
that's the goal. Is that
What do they do?
There's a lot of people that go out on Saturday and Sundays and don't really know that football happens. Like, that's a real thing.
Well, what do they do?
You need to know.
What do they talk about?
Apple picking,
Yeah,
soccer.
Yeah, soccer, gumpy.
Well, yeah, I mean, if like
No, but soccer watchers at least know American football. There's people that I guess, I've been told. I've never encountered it, I don't think. I don't think I've ever encountered it. Somebody just knows nothing about football.
Nope.
I've never.
Go to the pumpkin patch every Saturday.
you're from Pittsburgh, so
In the United States of America, those people exist?
There's a lot of people.
what is there, like 350 million Americans and 50 million watch the AFC Championship? There's 300 million people need to be watching.
Yeah, but total audience delivered, if you do the calculation,
sure.
how many
Okay.
people are in
Well,
each
there's
house whenever they're
200
watching
million people.
alongside?
How many babies?
Bingo, how many babies has going on football?
Yeah.
I don't know how people don't watch, though, and don't get entertained by it. Like that Georgia Tech, Florida State, no rooting interest. You watch that game, it's like, this is awesome.
Unbelievable.
And this matters a lot. There's national championship conversations that are going to be taking place from this. Speaking of the national champions from last year, Michigan, feels like the last big thing, that was going to come from the sign stealing situation just arrived on a Netflix earlier today. The untold story of Connor Stallions. You, former president of the Ohio State, what are your thoughts on it? Have you got a chance to watch it? We've only seen clips, so we have refrained from judgment, but it feels like the internet is, if you think Jim knew, you still think he knew. If you didn't think Jim knew, you still don't think he knew. And that Connor Stallions, I think everybody agrees, was obsessed with figuring out every sign on every single team. That was kind of my takeaway from the reaction to it. Have you watched it? Have you seen it? And what does Ohio feel about this entire Michigan situation?
I haven't got like a total feel exactly. I know online how people from Ohio feel. Like, they feel justified if they felt like, hey, this was going on, all this stuff happening. I haven't seen the whole thing top to bottom, but I have seen a lot of the clips, and I started watching it earlier last night, I guess. But I don't know. Like, first off, this dude is obsessed. I think you said it earlier. Like, he's committed. He's definitely committed to what he is doing. Like, how he was filming himself, and the clip that you played earlier in the show. I don't know, man. I need to watch the full thing, but man, this dude was obsessed.
He said 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, all the signals that have ever been given in the history of anything.
Look how long that.
I had to record.
It was just a 1 minute clip, but of him doing every single signal, and then he cropped every single one of them, and then he put the play, or then he had to find out what play was or formation. Like, there was a trips formation in there that he.
Every week.
Coloring association.
He had to do that every single week. Take the picture of himself that he did in the garage.
Yep.
Dark shirt, light colored background.
Yep, for the contrast.
Or, couldn't make that a PNG, but Connor Stallions didn't want to
Do
get
it with
that.
the garage door open.
Or a green screen or anything. Could have done absolutely
I don't
anything.
think you don't need your suggestions.
I agree.
What's the Central Michigan
I
deal?
agree.
What's the Central Michigan part of it? Do we know?
Well, that's the whole nother added conversation, because he's saying that he was giving tickets to other people, and I think Bill McComas watched it this morning while we were all sitting around. I was like, we need somebody to watch this entire thing. Impossible for us. Hour 20. It's a long one, so we'll watch the whole thing. Bill McComas basically got the anecdote from it that he feels as if he exploited the rules as opposed to broke any rules. Like, coaches aren't allowed to go, scouts aren't allowed to go. You're not allowed to. Well, what if the film is a gift from like a friend? Like, what if? But then the CMU thing feels like then that's the kind of the rebuttal.
So he's saying, Connor's saying, though, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't break the rules. I just kind of pushed. I towed the line of what the rules may be, what you can and can't do.
I explored the space of what the rules were, because they said, were they family and friends? Because I guess in the rule about the advanced scouting that they put in there, I assume no family or friends of coaches or staff are allowed to go, because this was probably thought of before. And then he said, I don't know. I was just selling tickets. Yeah. He was like a secondary ticket broker. He was acting as if I make $100 off a ticket here, and I'll just move to whoever. And then sometimes they would send back a video, but I
already had it.
I don't even need it. I don't need it. Already got it.
Do you know if he was a big Chips fan? Like, was he a big Central Michigan fan and just was on the sideline like that?
Yeah, maybe he was planning on protesting like oil drilling.
Sure.
So he just got a ticket to get down there so that he could sprint onto the field and do a full spray the paint. But he didn't. He backed out actually because he was watching the game and he was like, they should stop the drilling, but also pretty good game. I want to
football
interrupt.
game.
So that maybe like I guess you could think of any.
Oh yeah.
I was selling
has. Well, think about Rich Eisen's doing it for sure.
Oh my! Rich Eisen said,
gosh.
So you find somebody on Etsy, you think they're going to be able to get you a good, clean shot of who you need to see? That was awesome. I didn't know that was going to be the angle.
Great angle.
Yeah, great angle.
Uh-huh.
But then you listen to Connor Stein speak. He's like, SeatGeek, greatest ticket buying platform on planet Earth and the moon. Yeah, it's not a bad business.
And they had the list of all the tickets that he transferred to, and like who they transferred, like in that one video that we showed. So it was so easy to track, but at the same time, like if you made your decision before this documentary is not changing
It's
you.
kind of everything in this world. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Yep.
I mean,
That's wild, isn't it?
I mean, even
Except
with,
for some stuff.
even if you were presented with a bunch of facts that would make you be
matter.
like, "Hey, you need to change your opinion. You were actually wrong." You could very.
Yeah, but where
No, I don't-
nah.
That wasn't.
No.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't believe it. And then you start seeing stuff on the internet, and you're like, well, that's not real. Like right now, there is 1,000% AI edits of this documentary being put onto the internet
Oh, yeah.
and being presented as, I found this interesting from the Untold at Netflix thing, and just putting it out there. And it'll be Connor Stallion's face that we didn't really know much.
No.
I didn't really know. I knew him as CMU guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew his head a lot more from CMU pictures than I did from Michigan stuff. But when he does his interview, good shit guy, obviously ex-military. He's coaching at a high school now, obsessed with ball. But AI could definitely take him and just have him say anything.
Oh yeah. Jim Harbaugh told me to do all this.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh and I actually met once a week, and just this is fascinating from it. Some Ohio State fan, not that only Ohio would do that, but somebody could take any of these shots and put any words at all.
Did he say this wasn't him?
Yes, he said it wasn't him.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
You think this guy is me? Look at the jawline. Are you kidding me? What
I
is this?
didn't know Connor Stallions had that bald head that could be sucked on, like
Blaine Stewart.
Yeah,
Coach
yeah.
Blaine Stewart.
Coach Blaine
He's
Stewart.
got some McComas in him.
West Virginia Mountaineers. But anyways, so who knows what you got to watch the actual documentary. It's on Netflix, and I assume the conversation will only continue to go exactly how you were having it before watching it, to the point of literally everybody here. But I'm happy it's kind of behind us. Now, what isn't behind us is seemingly petty suspensions. DeMarco Murray, running back coach for Oklahoma, he has been suspended for a game because he talked to 16 recruits or 17 recruits during a period of time in which you can't talk to recruits. This goes back to whenever there was quiet time where you weren't allowed to reach out to recruits, which was made because coaches were sick of having to text recruits all year round. So they made a time period where nobody's allowed to talk so that we all are kind of forced to take a break. Some people, all people, I think, have broken those rules over the years. DeMarco Murray, the most recent one to get punished for it. Kirk Ferentz tampering stuff before he's suspended for a game. I think there's a wide receiver coach somewhere that got suspended.
At Iowa, too.
At Iowa gets suspended. There's another.
Yeah.
So it feels like we are currently in the middle of like the last shit from everything in the past of the NCAA. All the pettiness,
Yeah.
bullshit. Feels like this is the last, and then we're moving on to the next iteration of college football, which is going to have a salary cap, which is going to have a free agency time, which is going to have a transfer portal rule, which is going to have contracts that I think are understood by both parties. I think there's going to be comps. I think it's going to be CBA negotiate. Like, I think that's all going to happen, but right now we're still dealing with all the pettiness, the petty stuff. Like, you sent a text when you couldn't. That team just delivered a bag of $1 million to that person's front.
Yeah.
But when did they
There's weird rules too, though. Like if a recruit tweets you, you're allowed to tweet them back. I think in those dead periods. Like, but you can't. If they reach out to you, you can reach. Like, you just can't be the first. There's all these weird
Can I
things.
send a
So I don't
gift
know.
too? Or,
Yeah, true.
it's all right. Joining us now is a man who probably knows a little bit more about it, but is excited, I assume, about the future of college football because we're in a transition era. And I think all any of us want is just a little bit of, all right, let's figure out what it is here. Because we're living in the past a little bit still with some of the suspensions, but we're very much living in the future. 12-team playoff, money share, money being made. We got to figure out how it's going to look. Ladies and gentlemen, a man that's going to be a part of that process whenever he retires. Although he doesn't have a spot in the College Football Playoff Committee selection board, people think he does. That's because he's been a part of the college football world for 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the ever handsome former president of Ohio, Kirk Herbstreit.
Whoa.
When did we move over to the former, AJ, you and I?
I don't know.
See, I don't know who the current is right now. Actually, to tell you
Yeah.
the truth.
Oh, really?
Who would it be? It's Kirk has always been. I think Kirk is the sitting president until he decides to
AJ told
give
me
it up.
No, that's you, bud. I mean, that's you.
You
and
guys are
Chris
coach
Gilmore.
Harris.
Maybe the general.
But Kirk, you're aiming that question at the wrong person on this screen. AJ was the one that told us that you guys are no longer presidents
He did.
of the state of Ohio. I just want to let you know that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh.
Bingo. That's
Let
Okay.
him and take it back.
Who won the award this year?
Is Bobby Carpenter taking the reins?
He's the general.
He's not president.
There's a president, there's a general. You know,
Five-star.
you gotta always.
Peacetime.
Kirk
Yeah, he did
Herbstreit
get
is
another
here.
star.
We were just talking about the Connor Stallions documentary that came out on Netflix, Untold. Some behind the scenes stuff. I think we got to know a little bit more about Connor Stallions. He literally was one of the most obsessed humans I've ever seen when it comes to doing what he thought was going to maybe expedite his career going to the top, legitimately. Now, did Jim Harbaugh know? I don't think anything in there tells anybody that he did. If he didn't know, I don't think anything in there reaffirms, whatever the case. We're caught in between a time period now of college football of like yesterday, where we're suspending people for tampering, but then we're also giving millions of dollars, and then there isn't deals. And then we're also trying to get to tomorrow. What are your thoughts on where we are right now? How quickly does it come together? And what do you think about some of these, like DeMarco Murray suspended a game, Kirk suspended a game? This Michigan stuff is going to happen at some point this year. What do you think about yesterday and tomorrow kind of meeting in the college football space that we're in right now, Herbie?
I heard you talking about it. I think eventually the only answer is to try to have some kind of CBA or some kind of an agreement with the players and the future of the sport, which would be, this big division of college football that eventually is going to be settled. I don't think we're settled yet. I still think we're a year or two away from finally having, okay, this is it. What's going to happen with the ACC? If they end up, some of these schools get out, is the ACC going to exist? Are they going to stay in the ACC? So I think we need some answers there. But yeah, I think, you and I talked with Charlie Baker. We listened to him. I think he's steering the Titanic. I don't think this is something that just because he is a savvy guy and a guy that I think is very impressive, I don't think he can untangle this web.
Notification. Xfinity Voice Philadelphia PA 12,155,250,330.
I don't think it's an easy thing. That's why at some point, wouldn't it be great to have just one voice, one commissioner that would be able to run this sport, and his office would be able to care about the entire sport. The reason I think we are where we are is you have conflicting interests. What they care about, in the Mountain West, or let's say the Big 12 or the SEC or everybody's worried about their jurisdiction. Their chancellors, presidents, head coaches, players, fans, their constituents. That's it. That's all they're worried about. They're not worried about the totality of the sport. So it's very hard to move the sport forward when you have all these different agendas and all these different people looking at it through a different lens. So until we get everybody looking through one lens, you're going to have this. Not to mention the NIL space, the rules in Alabama versus Ohio versus California,
Texas
versus Louisiana versus everything's different. So we need some kind of federal rule that's going to say, here's the rule for NIL, or we need a CBA to say, because right now it's just do whatever you want in Louisiana. Oh, over there in Michigan, you guys got to watch out. You can only do this. And so how do you move forward when there's just so much? It's not an easy thing to just come up with an answer. So that's why you get some of this stuff. But according to what we heard from Charlie, some of this small stuff, hey, like you were referring to, I bought him a cheeseburger, or here's a hat. Like I think that stuff's going to go away, the petty stuff. But how we get there ultimately, I think we're all kind of scratching our head, wondering if Charlie Baker, I don't know if he has the authority without Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti and other conference commissioners getting on board. Right now, I feel like they're more powerful in college football than the NCAA is.
Is Charlie Baker the right guy to maybe do it, though? Like,
Yeah.
Because after listening to him speaking, like his vision, it's like I think maybe he would be one of the humans that I think I would put in there. Sankey obviously is another name that'll get mentioned. Petitti is a name that'll get mentioned. Saban's name is obviously going to get mentioned because of his connections. I think I heard your name get mentioned before, not by Florida State people, but by a lot of other people in this entire thing. And I think it's going to take place. It is quite a quagmire right now, for certain, but I think it's going to get figured out because the popularity of the sport through the roof. Do you see the numbers for Georgia Tech, Florida State? 5 million. That's the biggest week 0 game ever. People yearning for college football, loving that real football is happening. College game days numbers are huge. Anything associated with college football, big. Anything associated with football, big. It's a beautiful time in our sport. So that's why I hope these petty things don't continue to pop up, because every time a petty thing pops up, we have to bring up all the bullshit. Like we have to bring up this is just a stupid thing, because the sport the tradition, the fans, the players, the coaches. It is wonderful, and more people are watching it now than ever, Kirk. And this 12-team playoff is a big piece of that entire conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think that, and I think the summers get long. You know, I think we get excited for the start of football. The way you guys represent every day on your show, when you football, I think that represents what we all feel. You know, it's just exciting to see games back. I mean, week 0, you know, there are people watching, you know, not just Florida State play against Georgia Tech, but they're watching all these games. There was like 3 or 4. I think Nevada was playing SMU. Gumpy, of course, that guy. He follows every game. Anybody who plays anything, my man is dialed in on.
That's right. You got to take advantage of those books,
We love
sir.
the Lobos, right?
Go Lobo.
Yeah,
On the plane with the Lobos. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a blast, by the way. But yeah, in that game, SMU was down and they fought back. We're paying attention over the Atlantic, but I think this week is going to be bananas. I mean, you got real games. You guys keep putting that graphic up of some of the games are going to be here. Week 1 starts Thursday night. I guess the big one is for Wiley, North Carolina, and Minnesota. Friday night, you got some great games, and then you can just see what's going on over the weekend. Massive games with Georgia and Clemson. I know Georgia. Look at that; they're favored by almost 2 touchdowns. I tell you, I think Clemson's going to win the ACC. I think they're headed to the playoff. I think they're much better, and I think they got a lot of pride on their roster. I think that game's a lot closer. Miami and Florida, holy cow. Billy Napier, you talk about a lot at stake in that one. Notre Dame and A&M, we're going to be down there for that one. Can't wait. Then we fly over to Las Vegas to call the LSU-USC game. So, man, it is...
These are a lot of November games, brother, in August.
Man,
Doesn't it feel like
is
that?
massive.
Doesn't it feel like
Yes.
that? And I think this is one of the good things that is taking place with the transition period we're in college football is the marquee games with the amount of money that's getting dumped into these contracts are going to be big all year. Like, I think it's October 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
Saturday, October 12th is like from noon till midnight.
Yep.
It is just marquee. And that's just October.
Yeah.
That's not even, you haven't even got into November. So there's a lot of good coming out of this, and week 1 is about to be off and running. Go ahead, AJ.
Kirk, with all this NIL stuff going on, all the movement, I guess, on college rosters, do you think the quality of college football is going to be better here moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years? Or you think it might take a step back?
Well, I think, listen to some of these coaches, you know, when you were playing, if you got to a point, not you, but your era, if a guy got to be appointed with maybe a 3rd rounder, you know, his coach might say, hey, you probably need to come back. And a lot of times that player would listen to other folks. And many times they would go off to the NFL. Some guys would go off to the NFL and not even get drafted, you know, because they were just done with school. I think the NIL with that guy, if you're a 1st rounder, obviously you're going to go. But that guy that maybe is 2nd, 3rd, 4th or later, I think he's thinking now, man, I think I'm going to stay another year and I'm going to play some more college football. I'm going to take advantage of the NIL, make some more of that money, and then I'm going to go maybe improve my stock and then go to the NFL. So I think if anything, I think the portal is different because I think we're getting used to it, but it's still a little bit strange. Like I'm calling, you know, these games this weekend, just doing preparation. And it's amazing to see, like on A&M's roster with Mike Elko, who left Duke to go to Texas A&M to become the head coach. You know, he looked around that roster, I'm sure, after Jimbo Fisher left, he probably lost a lot. And he's like, man, we need some guys in the secondary. We need some D linemen, and we need some receivers. And they went out, and now you got to try to bring it together and gel and create continuity through winter conditioning, spring ball, and then into camp. And you really don't know what you have until you go out there and play, you know, as you guys know. And that's scattered all over college football. So on one hand, I think the NIL is going to make guys stick around. And on the other hand, I think with the portal, it's about who can come together. You know, I just brought up A&M, but Notre Dame has some guys, like 6 or 7 guys that are portal guys. Then I go to Sunday. I mean, LSU, they've got guys. USC has a bunch of guys. So that's the norm now. But who does the best job at creating it? Because as much as it's about the individuality on Twitter, and as much as it's about your individual brand, the goal is still to win football games as a team. So which coaching staffs do a good job of creating that bond that's going to allow you to get to like a lot of times people bring up Ohio State. If it's not now, then when? You know, they bought in, they're going to win them. It's like,
I did that on game day, actually.
but I'm saying,
Ravens.
dude,
I was right
it's,
that same
at the end of the day, what was the last time Ohio State took the field with a shortage of talent?
Not this much talent. I heard it straight from the
Well,
horse's mouth.
Best ever.
but I'm
Trust
saying,
you don't
Marvin
respect
Harrison-
Smartervest?
against Michigan
Jackson
last
Smith
year.
and Jigba. I mean, Ohio State has had the last 10 years, Ohio State's had NFL players all over their roster. I don't look at this roster, I really don't, and go, oh my God, they have Caleb Down.
$20 million.
Holy cow, Ohio State's serious this year.
Thank you.
They got Will Howard who's going to get beat out. He's going to get beat out at Kansas State.
Wow.
Holy cow!
Beat out,
They got Will Howard. Oh my God, they got Junkins who was a backup at Ole Miss.
Let me kick a tackle on a video game.
2 times.
He's not going to start at Ohio State. Trevion Henderson's. So I don't. Ohio State's had a. It's about are they going to come together?
It's one of the monsters.
It's about if they're going to be a team.
This is rap
It's
boy.
not about who they. Trip, what are you guys bullshitting about?
It's good, Kirk. You're de-recruiting them.
Yeah,
You're right.
that boy.
So Coach Day.
Well, you're trying
Coach Day loves hearing it.
You're trying to, because, I mean, as it was coming out of my mouth, I certainly was like, gosh, this is putting a lot of heat on Day, but it's already been there.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, they spent 20
I think Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer.
No, that's what I'm saying. And then the amount of money that's been spent, $20 million allegedly, and then you say, oh, they got Caleb Downs, they're going to be different. I was told that dude was a Hall of Fame player literally the day he stepped on
He's, before you say that, Minka Fitzpatrick, because I've covered all these Bama teams. Minka Fitzpatrick showed up as a true freshman. I watched his first scrimmage. I was down at the stadium down in Tuscaloosa. Kirby was the defensive coordinator. Watched, they had all these NFL first rounders everywhere. And I was like, I got done with the scrimmage. I go down to the field. And I go to Kirby. I go, who's that 29? And he goes, that's our freshman, Minka. He's out of Jersey. I was like, that guy looks different. Like when he's not in, he's standing next to a senior. He looks like he's asking questions, and he's got a chance to be pretty special. So what you're saying, Caleb Downs is that kind of guy. Not to mention make him play the money backer, nickel. He can play corner. He can play safety. That dude was doing everything as a freshman. You knew what he was going to become,
right?
And what's that?
Caleb, I think, led Alabama in tackles last year, right? So you're
Yeah, he
saying
did as a true freshman.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think he's great, but they've had a lot of good ones come through there. He's going to help Ohio State immensely just with his energy and just his leadership. He's just an old soul. As some of those guys come around, AJ's played with guys like that. But you look back at Ohio State's roster, go back to 2015. They won it in 14. They came back with the Bosa brothers, I think, or Joey Bosa. Look at that roster in 2015. That was the year they played Michigan State at home, and everybody got mad. They didn't give the ball to Zeke Elliott, and they ended up getting upset by a backup quarterback at Michigan State. That team was maybe the best roster I've ever seen in 2015. So the point is, they've had pretty good rosters. It's not like they went from having an average roster to all of a sudden buying a big, rich roster. They've already had a lot. And
Yeah, you
now
guys been
we'll see
buying
if-
teams for a long time. Say it, Herbie. Yeah, say it. Yeah, we still got little petty rules.
Tattoos.
Yeah, we understand. We understand that.
AJ, you get paid?
AJ what, Chief?
I was never offered.
Notification. Xfinity voice not available 12,159,897,470.
Hey, will you sign these 10 things for $150,000?
Exactly.
And that's what having a fan base as passionate as Ohio State fans become.
Well, that was you said that was post-career?
Yeah, it was post career.
Once you're done with once your senior season's over, yeah, you can go sign autographs
That's
around
what
Ohio.
happens when you're done.
Okay.
Bullshit.
Listen,
By the way,
go ahead.
Day next days at Centerville Friday night.
Oh no! How do we feel? Is
Hey,
James
get
gonna feel a
going.
little something going back to Dad's
Gonna be-
town?
Can be a great atmosphere, Kirk. You know that.
Honorary captain.
No,
No,
I'm just.
You should fly.
Head
You should
on.
helicopter the ball in. Helicopter the ball in. Like I used to tell them, Kirk. Mike Hartsock used to bring the ball into the 50-yard line and land it from the helicopter. You should be that guy.
At
No,
Centerville,
I'll be
you
the
guys
guy-
had the ball get thrown out of a helicopter.
Exactly.
No, landing, getting out, and handing the ball to the official to
Landing
start the
at
game.
the 50-yard line.
That's what Centerville football is.
Like the weather chopper. No, the
Like
weather
Fedco.
chopper
Like
from the local news
Fedco,
stuff.
John Fedco showed up with the football.
Donardo would have. Yeah, Donardo would have done.
Donardo was on the Doppler. Fedco was on the ground and in the chopper. Man,
The Fedco Zone. Welcome to Fedco Zone.
man, you want to get on a Fedco zone. I had a tackle against
What is
McGee Sport. Boy, I got showed on the Fedco zone. Never been more pumped up in my life.
He was a local sports guy who flew around on the chopper and showed all of the high school highlights on Friday nights. It was electric.
It was like
Chopper?
Yeah, chopper. The fake guys, dude.
We used to prank call a show all the time. It's great.
No way.
Yeah, asshole kids in Pittsburgh really were.
He would say, "Welcome to
Like Dabo?
Fecco Zone."
That boy, he ain't taking no.
Dabo's done with that shit.
Dabo's done with phone calls. Smart
Yeah.
play. Smart play. I like the way that whole thing goes. Let's talk.
That show still exists.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I didn't know if he retired. He's still going.
Oh, you tell me. Your show sucks. Jeez.
Yeah,
Is that
oh
what?
my God.
Is that what you were saying? You said that
Breaking.
show. How's that show? Is that what you said?
No, I thought maybe in Dayton, the guys that AJ's referring to, they've retired.
No.
That guy's still going.
Oh, you're talking about Fedco?
Yeah, Fecco.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fedco does not hit the chopper anymore.
What?
He's retired.
Since when?
Yeah, they don't put him up in a chopper.
He might go.
Omar Williams is done, right, AJ?
No.
He's-
Don't say
believe
that
so.
about Fedco.
Yeah.
He
No.
can't be dead.
No.
Please.
Oh,
Please
no.
don't.
Oh no.
Please
He'll
don't.
never die in my heart.
Not on
I know that.
Sunday.
Even it does not matter if his soul is still in a body here.
It was natural causes,
What was
right?
the budget for that show?
Fedco
200 million.
forever. What do you think?
Did he film from the chopper? Were the highlights from the chopper?
Yeah, he had
Yes.
one hand on a highlight, one hand on a rope, and then his legs were holding the ball, and then Fedco would drop down and say, "Now you guys can play the football."
Play ball.
And
No,
then-
it would start with the aerial over the stadium, and then they would go to the highlights from the field camera.
Yeah, come on. This is standard operating stuff. You guys know. You had Centerville, Ohio. You had three choppers overhead.
Same as hard.
How's St. X going to do against Centerville? We can be okay?
I bet you if there were a betting line in Vegas, I would say Centerville is the home team, probably a 2-point favorite, I would guess.
Wow.
1 or 2 point favorite.
Well, we know AJ is actually going to the coin toss, right, AJ? You're going to be at the coin toss for this weekend's...
I'm going to be in West Virginia. I'm not sure if I can make it back in time, but I'll try.
Oh, yeah, because I think
Okay.
there's a
I
ride.
can't wait for Friday for you guys in Morgantown. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be wild.
No, I don't think so. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
It's just going to be good.
No. You thought the pub in Northern or in
We're not
Ireland
doing that.
was gonna do it.
We're not doing that again.
This
Type of wild.
where are you going to be? Where's the location this week?
So it's where the original stadium was in Morgantown, West Virginia. It is now near the Life Sciences building, which is a building that every freshman has to have class in pretty much. And there's like a grassy knoll, if you will,
I hope not.
that is,
Uh-oh.
yeah, don't love it, especially with everything that's coming out.
Uh-oh.
But there's like a grassy field that is certainly knoll-like in between two buildings where our stage will be. They're telling students that they can't get there until 9 a.m. on Friday, no overnight camping. And the fact that that was even a thought that they had to put that on there is wild to me. I'm excited to see if anybody comes. If they do, can't wait to have a blast. We got some surprise guests, coming through. We got some West Virginia legends, and it's the biggest home opener since 1998 in Morgantown. And the whole town's buzzing.
Give me your top 5 WVU football legends.
Yeah,
your personal Pat McAfee top 5.
We'll do that on Friday, I do believe. So
I'm curious.
Yeah, I know you are. That's great. Watch on
Tune in, me
Friday.
too.
We will. We have a piece being made right now for the Open. Like I'm gonna really try to let the world know that like there's a lot of history in this town.
There is.
And this town is I don't want to say the Big 12 isn't home, but it is like the Big 12. We are so far removed from, and that's probably Neil Brown calling you right now saying, make sure you mention my goatee, which he looks super cool.
Yeah.
But like WVU ending up in the Big 12 instead of like the Big 10 or the ACC, I think for some people, especially in the area, maybe forget about West Virginia a little bit because they're not playing against their team. It's like Morgantown is a phenomenal college town. West Virginia
Big time.
has a lot of history, and there's been a lot of superstars that have come through there. Now, with that being said, I don't like that James Franklin's already saying, like, yeah, don't like my guys providing any bulletin board material for anybody else. So we'll say, it's like, if I'm helping feed this Penn State team that doesn't need any more assistance after everything has happened to them to get them motivated going to Morgantown, that is obviously something, because they're a great team coming in, ranked at number 8. And with this 12-team playoff, I think they have more hopes and dreams than they have in the past because they knew you lose to Ohio State, you lose to Michigan, it's over. Like, we got no shot. It's going to be them because the way it was East-West. Now, 12-team, no division. It's like Penn State has more hope than ever. West Virginia does, too. It's like this is a celebration of what's kicking off here in West Virginia. That's kind of how we're viewing Friday, if you will.
Yeah, man. It's going back as a kid watching college football. West Virginia, Penn State was a game. Jeff Hostetler, I remember watching those games, and they played Penn State early in the year, and it was always a big rivalry. I'm so excited that they're going to be playing that game this weekend. What a way to start the season for both those fan bases. And you're right. It's a different time. The Big 12. It's just weird. You think of the future. We just talked about where this thing's going to land in a couple years. Who knows? I'm not saying that West Virginia is going to, get out of the conference that they're currently in, but how great would it be if we could get back to them playing against teams that their fans get excited to be playing against? Penn State would obviously be an out-of-conference game, but teams like Virginia Tech, or who knows where Cincinnati's going to be, Louisville, teams like that, I always really loved watching WVU. And people who have not been there, it is your typical wild. On Saturday, that town comes alive. They believe in their Mountaineers. And it's going to be wild. It'll be a great show you guys have on Friday. I can't wait to watch it.
You were calling most of those Thursday night games, right, when we were playing in all of them?
Man, we did. It seems like we had a ton of those games on Thursday night when they were in the Big East, and you were a part of those teams. And Miami of Florida, of course, was competitive back in those days. But Louisville and Rutgers, all those teams were really good, along with WVU. So,
UConn.
Wow.
UConn. Oh yeah.
That area.
Hey,
that area.
UConn was up there.
Yeah,
No
The
doubt.
program's done, but
They were.
Like, it might be the Big 12 in the future.
Rutgers.
yeah, basketball school.
What happened? You guys did the Big Ten was scared of West Virginia? Is that what happened? Do I recall?
No. think so.
I think it was
No,
an
not at all.
academic thing.
Academics. Who
Whoa.
cares? We're talking about
Harvard.
sports.
We got public Ivies only. All right,
What's that?
public Ivies only.
What does that mean?
It means get your
Coach them up there. Come on, coach them up there, Ty.
get your GPA up. All right.
Who cares about GPA? We're talking about FOOTBALL.
Well, these are student human athletes, okay? Because guess what? Not all of them are going to be going to the NFL, but all of them are going to be going pro in something other than sport. Remember those commercials?
Boom.
All right.
Those
So,
are my favorite commercials.
Nailed it. Yep.
Over
True.
10,000 student athletes.
Listen, only you can prevent forest fires, okay? If we're going to start doing this entire thing, okay? If you just want to go back in fourth year, but
it makes sense. Them, Notre Dame. Whenever we do this again, bring West Virginia and Notre Dame in the Big Ten, and then we can call quits.
and if it means anything, I
That'd
do
be great.
believe they bulldozed a lot of part of town that was potentially bringing down the academics.
Okay.
Oh, really?
From what I've been told, I don't love it because that's where I lived. I lived in those areas, actually on the.
Dude, what? I can't imagine you in college. Oh my God.
It's too much. Did too much too quickly. Had a blast. Should have focused more. But here we are, and I'm very lucky that I was a West Virginia Mountaineer.
AJ, can you imagine him in college?
That was for-
No, I can see how you could bring a good spark to a college football program, though. I can see it.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm talking about after the game.
Yeah, well,
That's what I'm
Right.
saying too. That's what I'm saying. The bonding moments when Pat's trying to run up a wall and flip backwards.
Well, excuse me, I didn't try. I did those.
That's
things.
succeeded.
Yeah, and me and Thor, me and my guy Thor, we were out every night, and because we hung out with basically every department, defense department, they're out on what nights, offense is out on what nights, special teams obviously going out on these nights, GAs are out on this particular night. So I got a chance really. Now doing that, you're not going to be perfect. Obviously, you're going to happen to piss into some alleys, get some underages and stuff like that. That's going to end up being on your record for a little bit, and that type of stuff's going to happen. What are you supposed to do whenever you shut down every bathroom in town at midnight and you're 40 penny pitchers? What am I supposed to do? Just piss my pants? Okay, I guess we're in Ireland again all of a sudden. I mean, what is it's just. I had a great time. I was lucky to be a Mountaineer. Happy to be going back. Pumped to be going back.
Did you ever go out with Owen Schmidt?
No.
Did he tackle? I picture him tackling like dumpsters. Like just.
So Owen, for those that don't recall, was a runaway beer truck, and he was a good friend of mine in college, and we went out on a pretty regular basis. He was 1 year ahead of me. For those that don't recall, ended up with the Seattle Seahawks as a fullback.
Yes.
And
Didn't he take his helmet off or something and bang his head?
his first start, offense is getting announced, and his first ever start in the NFL is offense is getting announced, and he comes out, and Owen is electric, always electric. He is always great to be around. I mean, that's his thing. He comes out, takes his helmet, and he's like, I know. Off him because he had a rock head,
We gotta have video of that.
Yep,
There's gotta
I'm
be
sure
video.
it's somewhere, and he gashes himself so hard, so bad,
Blood everywhere.
had to get stitches, missed the start. Could not get on for the first place, so he missed his start. But I think, honestly, I couldn't
What
picture
a player!
so good. He was Pat, Steve, and Owen. were the reason because we had to dive to Owen, right? And Owen could run 4.55, 4.6,
No, I'm saying I'm guessing he was 240
255, 250.
and running 4.5.
And hang cleaning like 600 pounds too. Like you're talking about just like full specimen. This guy, full.
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
that's
There
Owen
we
Schmidt football right there. That is Owen Schmidt football.
My bad.
Also, one of the most beloved guys in the locker room by everybody. Could hammer beers.
He's like Mike Allstott.
Bingo. Walked on at West Virginia. Was a bouncer at some bars whenever he was
Had to be.
as a freshman, so he could pay for his schooling. If you learn about his entire family and everything like that, earns a scholarship, becomes a runaway beer truck, becomes one of the most pivotal parts of our entire team, which would obviously lead to the growth and expansion of West Virginia as a whole. But boy, pounded beers. I mean, absolutely. I don't know if it was you that phrased him as the runaway beer truck, but whoever did, like as we heard it, we're like, that seems like
Pretty good.
that is the perfect description of the guy. We can't wait to get back there. Let's get back to some Big Ten talk, though, shall we? Because the national champions, the conversation I'm scared is going to be about this Connor Stallions talk, as opposed to how they're going to do this.
What does Pete think of the new Netflix show?
Yeah, what does Pete think of Connor Stallions is Untold on Netflix?
Well, suffice to say, I'm a little disappointed because, I basically cracked the whole case open, and they didn't give me any on there. Now, yeah, sure, in the media cycles afterwards, I'll get the sneaky Pete, the greasy Pete from all the, Michigan fans out there. But, I think they could have done it a little bit better. I was ahead of this Connor Stallion stuff before anyone else, and then Netflix, comes prancing in, and now they're the heroes. They crack the code. I don't think so. So yeah, let's just say I've got my big boy pants on, and I'm kind of ready to crack my next big story, which I don't know might be coming this weekend in College Station.
Really? Wow. I can't wait to hear that. I don't like that they cut you out of it completely, Ty Pete.
Well, again, it's horseshit, but, what are you going to do? A lot of times they say there's only room for one superstar, and they didn't want to take the spotlight or the shine off Connor Stallions, per se.
Ty Pete, I heard you worked the crowd a little bit on College Game Day.
Well, yeah, when people are chanting your name and foaming at the mouth to kind of, see you get them going, what are you going to do? Again, it's entertainment after all, right?
All right, let's stay with Michigan. We love you, Pete. Let's stay with Michigan. Tone has a question for you, Herbie.
Yeah, Herbie, I can't remember if you had him in the playoffs or not, but I am fascinated by Michigan. 18 starters lost, I think 13 drafted. We don't know if Orji or Tuttle or whoever's going to be the quarterback, and then they have two of the best defenders in the country, in Mason Graham and Will Johnson. Week one, Fresno's no joke with Tedford and Mikey Keene at quarterback. What do you think Michigan is going to be this year?
I think, like a lot of these teams, I think around the quarterback position, they're going to be great. I know they lost a lot of leadership more than anything. The reason they got to where they got, it was not just J.J. McCarthy and his playmaking ability, but it was obviously the leadership up front of that offensive line. Those guys played so much ball. Blake Corum, just look around that team on defense. Sanistrell, they were fantastic as a group. Going back to what we said earlier, they came together, and then you lose a large percentage of that. So, who's the new leaders? I don't think from a talent standpoint you're going to watch them and say, "Wow, they're just not a talented team anymore." And I remember talking earlier this summer with Sherrone Moore, and he said, a lot of people think we don't have people back, but these guys have played a ton of football. They just were more in a role of kind of that 1B type of guys, so they would come off the bench and still get 30 or 40 snaps. So I think they're more experienced than people want to give them credit. It's just going to come down to, can they find a quarterback to run that system? They are not an offense that in this era of finding a Caleb Williams. That's not who they are. They're more of, we got to run the football. We need a tight end. We need a fullback, which, by the way, they have. We got to run. We got to hit play action. We got to be smart. We got to be efficient. We got to punt the ball. They play an old school style of football, and I think because of that, you don't have to rely on that quarterback to be a savior. And so, if they can block out all the Netflix, and are they going to be suspended? Are they going to get in trouble? Or all the stuff around them regarding the NCAA, which I think is just going to bring them probably as players closer together. I do have them in the playoff. I do think they're going to be better than people think. I don't have them winning the Big Ten. I had Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I had Oregon in the Big Ten winning the national championship once we get to the playoff. But I do have Michigan making it, which would probably get them at that, I don't know, 9-3, 10-2 mark. I think would get them into the playoff. What do I have? Is it an 11 seed there against Texas?
This 12-team playoff format, whenever we put them up on game day and I got to see everybody's, man. I mean, I know it's a long time away and we're going to take a lot of different journeys to get to this point. But these first-round games with home field advantages, oh my God.
Electric.
I cannot. You know,
I know.
It is. I know you've got to experience it for like 20 years or whatever. So, and you still get like, I don't want to say goosebumps, but I think you do still get goosebumps whenever you walk into
Are
the
you
stadium.
kidding me?
How could you not?
I
the
mean,
way these
worried about my 10. I'm worried about my 10 seed there. They still can, obviously they can get back in.
Who's that? Oh, that's Florida State.
I have Florida State there at 10, but we're off to an 0-1 start. So they
They lost to Georgia Tech.
No, they did, everybody. And remember,
They did.
They did lose.
this is not indicative of how their
That's
season.
what I heard. Someone
Yeah.
said
All right,
Have you seen Norvell's record without Jordan Travis?
Wait a minute.
It's like 2-9 or something.
Wait,
2-9, I think,
We don't need
without
to do
Jordan
this.
Travis.
We don't need to do
I'm
this.
not doing it. I'm not doing it.
I know you're not. I know you haven't.
No, Gumpy told me they lost. That's the only reason.
Okay, Herbie has them in the playoff.
He does.
Has them in
I
the
do.
playoff. Picked them to win. Sheamus was the only one to pick Georgia Tech. And I think after we saw how passionate the Florida State fans were this weekend towards Herbie for their team, obviously we are still incredibly bummed out for you with the way last year went. Once again, there are other teams that felt incredibly bummed out as well, but weren't undefeated like you guys. With that 4-team system, inevitably, somebody was going to be left out every single year. That's why this year, even with the loss week 1, you're still got everything
Right
in front of you.
Yep.
Still got everything in front of you, which is exactly what you put out, and exactly your immediate reaction was like, 12-team playoff, they can still make it if they figure it out.
Yep.
DJ Uyunglele is going to have to figure it out a little bit. They're going to have to play better football, but this is why this year is better than any year of the past, in my eyes.
Amen. On one hand, you like to think every game matters, and you want to feel like that urgency to win every game. But then on the flip side, what you just said is very accurate. I mean, Florida State, their fans are upset now with not me, but about the team losing and being 0-1. But what you just said, they got a game Monday night. I think somebody said earlier there's no Monday night football. Florida State BC is a Monday night game without the NFL this week. So a chance to get, a big audience, regroup, get this thing turned around, get to 1-1, and away we go. So yeah, they have so much in front of them. It's just a matter of putting that disappointment behind them and still thinking about trying to have a big year.
And you are a massive fan of Norvell. We think he cultivates culture. We hope it happens for him because getting to experience your passion, although it's pretty negative at times, cool to see. And that's why college football is as great as it is. We can't thank you enough for the time, Herbie.
You got it, man. See you guys. Have a great time in Morgantown. I'll see you Saturday.
All right, I'll see you down in College Station, ladies and gentlemen. Kirk Herbstreit.
Wow.
29 years.
Long's crazy.
Long time. All right. We're off tomorrow. We'll be back Thursday with a big program. And then Friday, we're live in Morgantown. I cannot wait for football to continue to be awesome, which it is. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. We'll see you Thursday.
You can